Hello there, and welcome to Midnight Science. I'm so glad you found your way here because tonight we're exploring artificial intelligence, not the science fiction version, not the fears or the hype, but the quiet reality of what AI actually is, how it works, and the surprising ways it's woven into the world around us. Some of what you hear might change how you see the machines in your life. Other facts might simply drift by like clouds, soft, curious, and strangely comforting. Maybe you've been thinking about technology, about intelligence, about what it means to be aware. Or maybe you just need something gentle to carry you towards sleep. Either way, you're in the right place. If this kind of peaceful exploration helps you rest, consider liking and subscribing. It helps others find their way here too, one sleepy soul at a time. Also, I'd love to know where you're tuning in from and what time it is there. It's always wonderful to see how these videos bring people together from all around the world. But for now, let your shoulders drop. Let your breathing slow. And let's begin this gentle journey through the quiet wonders of artificial intelligence. AI doesn't think the way you do. When we talk about artificial intelligence, it's easy to imagine something like a human mind, something that thinks, feels, and understands. But AI doesn't work that way. It doesn't wake up in the morning. It doesn't get tired. It doesn't experience curiosity or boredom or wonder. What it does is pattern recognition. Billions and billions of calculations performed in silence, looking for relationships between numbers, between words, between pixels in an image. When an AI seems to understand you, what's really happening is a mathematical echo. It's finding patterns in language that resemble the patterns it was trained on. It's not conscious, it's not aware, but in its own strange way, it's extraordinarily capable. A different kind of intelligence, one built from silicon and electricity rather than neurons and blood. The first AI was born in a summer workshop. In the summer of 1956, a small group of scientists gathered at Dartmouth College in New Hampshire. They came together for a workshop with an ambitious goal to explore whether machines could be made to simulate human intelligence. They called it artificial intelligence, and that summer became the birth of an entire field. The researchers were optimistic, perhaps too optimistic. They believed that within a generation, machines would be able to do any intellectual work a human could do. They didn't know that progress would be slower, stranger, and more winding than they imagined. But that summer planted a seed, and from those early conversations, experiments, and failures came everything we now call AI. A field born not from a single breakthrough, but from a question, asked quietly in a New England summer, under trees that had no idea what was being dreamed beneath them. Neural networks were inspired by the human brain deep inside your skull. Billions of neurons fire and connect, forming patterns that give rise to thought, memory, and awareness. In the 1940s and 50s, scientists wondered, could we build something similar with machines? The result was the artificial neural network, a mathematical structure loosely inspired by the brain. These networks consist of layers of artificial neurons, simple units that receive input, process it, and pass signals forward. When you connect thousands or millions of these units together, something remarkable emerges. They don't work exactly like biological neurons. They're simpler, more rigid, and far less mysterious. But the principle is the same: learning through connection, through adjustment, through repetition. Train a neural network on enough examples, and it begins to recognize patterns. Show it enough pictures of cats, and it learns what makes a cat, not through rules, but through structure. It's not a brain, but it's a distant cousin, an echo of biological learning written in code. AI can learn without being explicitly programmed. In the early days of computing, every instruction had to be written by hand. If you wanted a computer to recognize a letter, you had to describe every angle, every curve, every rule. It was tedious and fragile, and it didn't work very well. But modern AI learns differently. Instead of being told what to do, it's shown examples. Thousands, millions, sometimes billions of examples. And from those examples, it extracts its own rules, its own understanding. This process is called machine learning. You give the system data, images of handwritten digits, recordings of spoken words, patterns in stock prices, and the system adjusts itself, tuning its internal parameters until it gets better at the task. It's not magic, it's optimization, calculus applied at enormous scale. But the result feels almost like watching something grow. The machine doesn't just follow instructions, it adapts, it improves. And in that adaptation lies something quietly astonishing. AlphaGo taught itself to play better than any human Go is an ancient board game, older than chess, with simple rules but staggering complexity. For decades, it was considered beyond the reach of computers. The number of possible board positions is greater than the number of atoms in the observable universe. Then, in 2016, an AI called AlphaGo did something no one expected. It defeated Lee Sedol, one of the greatest Go players in the world. And it didn't just win. It played moves that human experts call beautiful, creative, even genius. What made this possible wasn't brute force. AlphaGo learned by playing millions of games against itself, refining its strategy through trial and error. It discovered patterns and tactics that no human had ever thought of. And in doing so, it showed that AI could not only match human skill, but surpass it in surprising and elegant ways. Later versions of the system learned entirely from scratch, without ever being shown a human game. They started with nothing but the rules, and within days, became the best Go players on Earth. Not by copying us, but by exploring the game on their own. Most AI is narrow, not general. When people imagine AI, they often think of robots that can do anything, systems that think and reason across every domain. But that's not what most AI is. Not yet anyway. The AI that powers your phone's voice assistant, that recommends videos, that filters spam from your email. These are examples of narrow AI. They're very good at one specific task, but only that task. A system trained to recognize faces can't drive a car. A chess-playing AI doesn't understand language. This specialization is both a strength and a limitation. It means AI can be incredibly powerful within a defined space. But it also means it lacks the flexibility, the common sense, the broad understanding that even a young child possesses. General AI, the kind that could learn any task a human can, remains theoretical. Some researchers believe we'll achieve it within decades. Others think it's much further away, or may require entirely new approaches. For now, the AI around us is brilliant but narrow, focused but fragile, powerful within its domain, and helpless beyond it. AI can create art, music, and poetry. There was a time when creativity was considered uniquely human, something no machine could ever touch. But AI has begun to blur that line. Today, AI systems can generate paintings, compose music, write poetry, and even produce realistic images of people who never existed. These systems don't create the way humans do. They don't feel inspiration or struggle with self-doubt. Instead, they learn patterns from vast libraries of human-made art, absorbing styles, structures, and techniques. Then they remix those patterns in new combinations, guided by randomness and rules. The results can be strange, beautiful, unsettling, or surprisingly moving. Some people see it as true creativity. Others see it as sophisticated imitation. The truth is probably somewhere in between. What's certain is that these tools are changing how we think about art and authorship. They're not replacing human creativity, but they are expanding what's possible. A collaboration between human intention and machine capability, between vision and algorithm. And in that collaboration, something new is being born. Machines can recognize your face better than you can. You might think you're good at recognizing faces, and you are, within reason. But modern facial recognition systems can outperform humans in many scenarios. They can match a face against a database of millions in seconds. They can identify someone even if they've aged, change their hairstyle, or are partially obscured. These systems work by analyzing the geometry of a face, measuring distances between eyes, nose, mouth, and jawline. They convert these measurements into a mathematical representation, a kind of facial fingerprint, and then compare it to others. The technology is powerful and increasingly common. It unlocks your phone. It tags you in photos. In some places, it tracks people through airports or city streets. That power raises questions about privacy, consent, and control. But the technology itself is neutral. It's a tool that can recognize patterns in human faces with astonishing precision. And whether it's used for convenience, security, or surveillance depends not on the AI, but on the people who deploy it. AI can diagnose diseases from medical images in hospitals around the world. AI is quietly changing how doctors work. Radiologists examine X-rays, CT scans, and MRIs, looking for signs of disease, tumors, fractures, abnormalities. It's demanding work that requires years of training and immense focus. Now, AI systems trained on millions of medical images can assist in this process. They can detect patterns humans might miss, early signs of cancer, subtle changes in tissue, small anomalies that could indicate serious conditions. In some studies, these systems perform as well as or better than experienced doctors. They're not replacing doctors. Instead, they're acting as a second set of eyes, a safeguard, a tool that helps catch what might otherwise be overlooked. The final decision still belongs to a human, but the machine offers guidance, flagging areas of concern, highlighting what deserves a closer look. It's a quiet partnership, human intuition paired with machine precision. And in that partnership, lives are being saved. Deep learning requires enormous amounts of data. Modern AI systems, especially those based on deep learning, are data hungry. They need to see thousands, often millions of examples before they can learn to perform a task well. A system learning to recognize cats needs to see countless images of cats in different poses, lighting conditions, and contexts. This hunger for data is both a strength and a challenge. More data generally means better performance, but gathering, labeling, and storing that data requires time, money, and careful attention to quality and bias. Some of the most advanced AI models are trained on datasets so large they encompass significant portions of the public internet, billions of words, images, and interactions. This allows them to develop broad, flexible capabilities, but it also raises questions about what they're learning, what biases they might absorb, what patterns they might amplify. Data is the fuel that powers modern AI, and like any fuel, its quality matters. Clean, diverse, well-labeled data produces capable, reliable systems. Poor data produces systems that fail in unexpected and sometimes harmful ways. AI can translate languages in real time not long ago. Translating between languages required years of study or expensive professional services. Today, you can point your phone at a foreign sign and see it translated instantly. You can have a conversation with someone who speaks a different language, with AI quietly translating in between. These translation systems are built on neural networks trained on vast parallel text, the same sentence written in multiple languages. The system learns to map meaning from one language to another, not word by word, but through understanding structure, context, and usage. The translations aren't perfect. Nuance, idiom, and cultural context can be lost, but they're remarkably good enough to make communication possible where it once was not. And they're improving constantly, learning from corrections, absorbing new data, becoming more fluent. Language was once a barrier that divided the world. AI is making that barrier a little more permeable, one translated sentence at a time. Chatbots learn from conversation. When you talk to a chatbot, a customer service assistant, or a virtual helper, you're interacting with a system that has been trained on millions of conversations. It's learned patterns of human dialogue, how questions are phrased, how information is requested, how politeness and frustration are expressed. These systems don't understand in the way you do. They don't have thoughts or feelings, but they can generate responses that feel natural, helpful, even friendly. They predict what comes next in a conversation based on what's come before. Some chatbots are simple, following scripted paths. Others are more sophisticated, able to handle open-ended questions and adapt to the flow of conversation. The best ones blur the line between talking to a machine and talking to a person, not because they're conscious, but because they're very good at mimicking the patterns of human speech. And as they interact with more people, they continue to learn, refining their responses, becoming smoother, more helpful, more human-like, even as they remain fundamentally different. AI can write code. Programming has long been considered a distinctly human skill, requiring logic, creativity, and an understanding of abstract systems. But AI has begun to learn this skill too. Systems trained on vast repositories of code can now generate programs from natural language descriptions. You can describe what you want in plain English, a function that sorts a list, a script that processes data, a simple game, and the AI will write the code for you. It's not always perfect. Sometimes it makes mistakes or misunderstands the request, but often it produces working, usable code. This doesn't mean programmers are becoming obsolete. Instead, AI is becoming a tool that accelerates development, handles repetitive tasks, and helps beginners learn. Experienced developers use it to prototype quickly, explore solutions, or fill in boilerplate. In a sense, we're teaching machines to speak our technical languages, to understand the logic we've built our digital world upon. And in doing so, we're making it easier for more people to create, to build, to turn ideas into software. Bias in data creates bias in AI. AI systems learn from data, and data reflects the world as it is, including its inequalities, prejudices, and blind spots. If an AI is trained on biased data, it will learn biased patterns. If the data overrepresents one group and underrepresents another, the system will perform better for the former and worse for the latter. This has real consequences. Facial recognition systems that work better on lighter skin tones, hiring algorithms that favor certain demographics, credit scoring models that disadvantage specific communities. These problems arise not because the AI is malicious, but because it's reflecting the biases embedded in its training data. Addressing this requires careful attention, diverse datasets, thoughtful design, and ongoing monitoring. It's not a problem with an easy solution, but it's one the field is increasingly aware of and working to correct. AI is a mirror, and what it reflects depends on what we show it. Some AI can explain its reasoning. For a long time, AI systems were black boxes. You could see the input and the output, but what happened in between was opaque, a tangle of numbers and mathematical operations too complex to interpret. This made people uneasy. How can you trust a system you don't understand? In response, researchers have developed methods to make AI more explainable. These techniques allow the system to highlight which parts of an image influenced its decision, which words in a sentence were most important, or which factors contributed to a recommendation. It's not perfect. The explanations are approximations, simplified narratives of processes that remain fundamentally complex, but they offer a window, a way to peek inside and see, roughly, how the system is thinking. This transparency is especially important in high-stakes domains like medicine, law, and finance, where decisions need to be justified and understood. And as AI becomes more integrated into our lives, the demand for explainability will only grow. Reinforcement learning is how AI learns from trial and error. Some of the most impressive AI breakthroughs have come from a technique called reinforcement learning. Instead of learning from labeled examples, the system learns by trying things, observing the results, and adjusting based on rewards or penalties. Imagine teaching a dog to sit. You don't explain the physics of sitting. You reward the behavior when it happens. Reinforcement learning works similarly. The AI tries actions in an environment, a game, a simulation, a robot's body, and receives feedback. Over time, it learns which actions lead to success. This is how AI learned to play video games at superhuman levels, how robots learn to walk, and how systems learn to optimize complex processes like data center cooling or traffic flow. It's learning through experience, through exploration, through failure and success. It's also how, in a sense, much of biological learning works. We try, we fail, we adjust, and in that simple loop, intelligence emerges. AI powers the recommendations you see online every time you open a streaming service, a social media app, or a shopping site. AI is working quietly in the background. It's analyzing your past behavior, what you watched, what you clicked, how long you lingered, and using that information to predict what you might want next. These recommendation systems are designed to keep you engaged, to show you content that resonates, that holds your attention. They're remarkably good at it, sometimes unsettlingly so. They can surface videos, articles, products, or posts that feel almost perfectly tailored to your interests. But they're not reading your mind. They're reading your patterns, and they're comparing those patterns to millions of others, finding similarities, making educated guesses. These systems shape what we see, what we discover, even what we think is popular. They're invisible curators, algorithmic tastemakers, influencing the flow of information and entertainment in ways we often don't notice but always feel. AI can generate realistic human faces that don't exist. There are faces on the internet that look completely real. Photographs of people with distinct features, expressions, and personalities. But they're not real. They were generated by AI, created by a type of neural network called a GAN, or generative adversarial network. GANs work through competition. One network generates images, trying to make them look realistic. Another network judges those images, trying to determine if they're real or fake. They push each other, the generator getting better at creating, the discriminator getting better at detecting. Eventually, the generator becomes so skilled that its creations are indistinguishable from reality. These synthetic faces have no memories, no childhood, no family. They exist only as pixels conjured from noise and mathematics. It's an unsettling thought, but also a testament to how well AI can learn the patterns of the real world. The technology has useful applications, creating avatars, protecting privacy, advancing research. But it also raises concerns about misinformation, deepfakes, and the erosion of trust. A reminder that every powerful tool carries responsibility. Speech recognition works by predicting phonemes. When you speak to your phone or a voice assistant, your words are converted into text almost instantly. This process, called speech recognition, has become so seamless we barely think about it. But underneath, it's a complex dance of pattern recognition. The system breaks your speech into tiny units called phonemes, the basic sounds of language. It analyzes the audio waveform, identifying patterns that correspond to these sounds. Then it combines those sounds into words, using context and probability to resolve ambiguities. Is it recognized speech or recognized beach? The sounds are nearly identical, but context tells the system which makes sense. Modern systems use neural networks trained on countless hours of spoken language, learning not just sounds, but rhythm, accent, and meaning. They're not perfect. Background noise, accents, and unusual phrasing can confuse them. But they've come remarkably far. And with every conversation, with every correction, they continue to improve. Self-driving cars see the world through sensors. Autonomous vehicles don't drive the way humans do. They don't glance in mirrors, squint at road signs, or feel the steering wheel. Instead, they see the world through an array of sensors, cameras, radar, LiDAR, GPS, all feeding data into an AI system that must make sense of it all. The AI processes this flood of information in real time, identifying pedestrians, vehicles, lane markings, traffic lights, and obstacles. It predicts how other road users will behave, plans a safe path forward, and executes precise control over acceleration, braking, and steering. It's an immensely challenging task. The real world is unpredictable, messy, filled with edge cases and unusual scenarios. A child chasing a ball, a construction zone, a deer crossing the road. The AI must handle all of it, safely and reliably, in fractions of a second. Progress has been significant, but the technology isn't perfect yet. And the question isn't just technical, it's ethical, social, and legal. Who's responsible when something goes wrong? How safe is safe enough? These are questions we're still learning to answer. AI can compose music in any style. Feed an AI thousands of songs from a particular genre, jazz, classical, electronic, and it can learn the patterns, the chord progressions, the rhythms and melodies that define that style. Then it can create something new, a piece of music that sounds like it belongs, but has never been heard before. These systems don't feel the music. They don't experience the emotional pull of a melody or the tension of a dissonant chord, but they can recognize patterns in how notes relate, how songs are structured, how themes develop and resolve. The results range from background music for videos to compositions that have been performed by orchestras. Some people find these pieces moving, others find them hollow, technically proficient, but emotionally empty. Perhaps what matters is the collaboration. AI as a tool for human musicians, generating ideas, exploring possibilities, expanding the palette of what can be imagined. Not replacing the artist, but augmenting their creative process. AI doesn't get tired or distracted. One of AI's most practical advantages is consistency. A human doctor examining medical scans at the end of a long shift might miss something they'd catch when fresh. A human driver might get distracted, tired, or emotional. These are natural human limitations. AI doesn't have these problems. It doesn't get bored reviewing thousands of images. It doesn't get fatigued after hours of work. It doesn't have a bad day. Given the same input, it will produce the same output, reliably, repeatedly. This makes it valuable for tasks that require sustained attention, monitoring systems for anomalies, reviewing legal documents, analyzing financial transactions. It's not that AI is better than humans at everything. It's that it complements human abilities, handling the tedious, the repetitive, the exhausting, freeing humans for work that requires creativity, judgment, and empathy. Of course, this consistency can also be a limitation. AI doesn't adapt to new situations the way humans do. It doesn't recognize when something truly unusual is happening. It follows its patterns, even when those patterns no longer apply. Machine learning can predict protein structures. One of the most significant recent AI breakthroughs happened in a field most people rarely think about: protein folding. Proteins are long chains of amino acids that fold into complex three-dimensional shapes. Those shapes determine how proteins function, and understanding them is crucial for biology and medicine. For decades, predicting how a protein will fold was an incredibly difficult problem. Scientists could determine structures through experimental methods, but it was slow and expensive. Then an AI system called AlphaFold learned to predict protein structures from their amino acid sequences with remarkable accuracy. This has profound implications. It accelerates drug discovery, helps understand diseases, and opens new avenues for research. It's AI tackling a fundamental scientific problem and succeeding in ways that surprised even experts. It's a reminder that AI's impact extends far beyond consumer applications. In laboratories around the world, it's helping us understand the building blocks of life itself, quietly, methodically, one folded protein at a time. AI can detect deepfakes, but the arms race continues. Deepfakes are synthetic media, videos, audio, or images created or manipulated by AI to show people doing or saying things they never did. The technology is advancing rapidly, becoming more convincing, more accessible, and more concerning. But just as AI can create deepfakes, it can also detect them. Researchers have developed systems that analyze subtle inconsistencies, unnatural eye movements, lighting mismatches, artifacts in facial features. These detection systems can flag synthetic content with increasing accuracy. Yet it's an arms race. As detection methods improve, so do generation methods. Each time a flaw is identified, new techniques emerge to hide it. The line between real and fake becomes harder to draw. This has implications for trust, for evidence, for truth itself. In a world where seeing is no longer believing, we need new ways to verify authenticity. Technical solutions, yes, but also critical thinking, media literacy, and societal norms around the responsible use of these powerful tools. Neural networks can dream. In 2015, researchers at Google revealed something strange and beautiful. They took neural networks trained to recognize images and ran them in reverse, asking the network to enhance whatever patterns it saw, even in random noise. The result was surreal. Psychedelic images they called deep dream. The networks, trying to see what they'd been trained to recognize, would fill images with eyes, animals, abstract patterns, and bizarre architectural features. It was as if the AI was dreaming, projecting its learned patterns onto the world. This wasn't just an artistic curiosity. It revealed something about how these systems work, what they've learned, what features they're sensitive to, what patterns they consider significant. It's a window into the alien aesthetics of machine perception. The images are unsettling and captivating, familiar yet wrong. They show us how different artificial vision is from our own, how these systems see not objects, but statistical patterns, textures, correlations in pixels. A reminder that intelligence can take forms we barely recognize. AI systems can work together just as humans collaborate, so can AI systems. Multiple neural networks can be combined, each specializing in a different aspect of a problem. One might process visual information, another language, another decision-making. Together, they form a system more capable than any individual component. This ensemble approach is common in competitions and real-world applications. Instead of relying on a single model, you train several and combine their predictions. The errors of one might be compensated by the strengths of another. It's a form of collective intelligence, not conscious or coordinated, but effective. Each system votes, and the consensus often outperforms any individual judgment. It's similar to how crowds of humans can be wise, how averaging many estimates often gets closer to truth than any single guess. In the architecture of modern AI, collaboration isn't just possible, it's powerful, and it suggests a future where systems don't work in isolation, but in networks, in communities, in ecosystems of specialized intelligences working toward common goals. Training large AI models costs millions of dollars. The most advanced AI systems require enormous computational resources to train. They run on clusters of thousands of specialized processors, consuming massive amounts of electricity, running for weeks or months. The cost can reach millions, sometimes tens of millions of dollars. This creates a divide. Only large companies and well-funded research institutions can afford to train these models. It concentrates power, influence, and capability in the hands of a few. Smaller organizations, researchers, and countries are left relying on what others create and share. There are efforts to democratize AI, to create more efficient training methods, to share pre-trained models that others can adapt. But the trend toward larger, more expensive models continues, pushing the boundaries of what's possible, while widening the gap between those who can participate and those who cannot. It's a tension at the heart of modern AI, between progress and accessibility, between capability and equity, between what's technically possible and what's sustainable, fair, and just. AI can optimize complex systems. Some problems are too complicated for humans to solve through intuition alone. Scheduling thousands of flights, managing energy grids, coordinating supply chains. These systems have countless variables, constraints, and competing objectives. AI excels at optimization. Give it a goal, minimize cost, maximize efficiency, reduce delays, and it will explore vast spaces of possibilities, finding solutions that might never occur to a human planner. It can simulate scenarios, predict outcomes, and adjust strategies in real time. This has led to quieter but profound impacts. Data centers that cool themselves more efficiently, saving energy. Traffic systems that reduce congestion. Manufacturing processes that minimize waste. These aren't flashy applications, but they matter. They make systems smoother, cheaper, more sustainable. In the background of modern infrastructure, AI is quietly tuning, adjusting, optimizing, making the complex machinery of society run a little more smoothly, one algorithmic adjustment at a time. Transformers revolutionized natural language processing. In 2017, a new type of neural network architecture called the transformer was introduced. It changed everything in natural language processing, the field concerned with understanding and generating human language. Transformers work differently from earlier approaches. They use something called attention mechanisms, allowing the network to weigh the importance of different words in a sentence, understanding context and relationships in more nuanced ways. This made them vastly more effective at tasks like translation, summarization, and text generation. Most of the impressive language AI you interact with today, chatbots, writing assistants, search engines, is powered by transformers or their descendants. They scale beautifully, improving as they're given more data and more computational resources. The architecture is elegant, almost simple in concept, but profound in impact. It's a reminder that sometimes progress comes not from incremental improvement, but from rethinking the fundamental structure, from asking whether there's a better way to build the foundation. AI can't truly understand, but it can seem to. When you read a text generated by AI, it can feel remarkably human. The grammar is correct. The ideas flow logically. It responds to your questions appropriately. It can seem like the system understands what it's saying, but understanding, in the human sense, requires more than pattern matching. It requires experience, embodiment, awareness. It requires knowing what words refer to in the real world, what they feel like, what they mean beyond their statistical relationships. AI operates on a different level. It manipulates symbols according to learned rules. It predicts what comes next based on vast amounts of training data. It's astonishingly good at this, good enough to fool us into thinking something deeper is happening. Whether that gap will ever be bridged, Whether AI could develop genuine understanding remains an open question. For now, we have systems that mimic understanding so well that the distinction often doesn't matter practically, even as it matters philosophically. A simulacrum of thought, convincing and useful, but fundamentally different from the original. Some AI learns from synthetic data. Training AI typically requires real-world data, photographs, text, recordings. But increasingly, AI is being trained on synthetic data, examples generated by other AI systems or by simulations. This has advantages. Synthetic data can be created quickly and cheaply. It can include rare scenarios that are hard to capture in real life. It can be generated in perfect conditions, labeled automatically, crafted to fill gaps in datasets. But it also has risks. If AI learns from other AI, does it lose touch with reality? Do errors compound? Do biases amplify? There's a concern about model collapse, systems trained on synthetic data that gradually drift from the real world, becoming increasingly distorted reflections of reflections. The solution likely lies in balance, using synthetic data to augment real data, to expand what's possible, but always anchored to actual experience, to the messy, complex, irreducible reality of the world we live in. Edge AI brings intelligence to your devices. Not all AI runs in massive data centers. Increasingly, AI models are being deployed directly on devices, your phone, your car, your smart speaker. This is called Edge AI, bringing intelligence to the edge of the network rather than relying on distant servers. Edge AI offers several advantages. It's faster, no need to send data to the cloud and wait for a response. It's more private, your data stays on your device, and it works even without an internet connection. But it comes with trade-offs. Devices have limited processing power, memory, and battery. Running sophisticated AI locally requires careful optimization, smaller models, efficient algorithms, compromises between capability and resource constraints. The trend is toward more edge AI, more intelligence embedded in the fabric of our daily lives. Cameras that recognize faces locally, assistants that respond instantly, cars that make split-second decisions, a distributed intelligence woven into objects, quiet, local, and increasingly capable. AI can generate realistic video from text descriptions. The frontier of AI-generated content continues to advance. Systems now exist that can create video from text descriptions. Type, a golden retriever playing in a field of flowers, and the AI generates seconds of video showing exactly that, complete with realistic motion, lighting, and detail. These systems have learned from vast libraries of video, understanding how objects move, how light behaves, how scenes unfold over time. They're not searching a database of existing clips. They're synthesizing new ones, frame by frame, pixel by pixel. The implications are staggering. For filmmakers, a new tool for visualization. For educators, a way to create custom illustrations. For everyone, a technology that further blurs the line between real and generated, between captured and created. It's advancing rapidly. Soon, generating high-quality video may be as simple as writing a sentence. And with that ease comes responsibility. The need to mark synthetic content, to maintain trust, to use these capabilities wisely. AI doesn't have consciousness or self-awareness. This might seem obvious, but it's worth stating clearly. The AI systems we interact with, no matter how sophisticated, are not conscious. They don't have experiences, feelings, or self-awareness. They don't know they exist. They don't want anything. They don't care about their own survival or success. They're tools, extraordinarily capable tools, but tools nonetheless. They respond to inputs according to their programming and training. They optimize objectives we define, but there's no inner life, no subjective experience, no ghost in the machine. This distinction matters. It affects how we treat these systems, what responsibilities we attribute to them, how we regulate their use. And it prevents us from anthropomorphizing, from projecting human qualities onto systems that, for all their capability, remain fundamentally alien to the human experience. Whether machine consciousness is possible remains one of philosophy's deepest questions. But whatever the answer, current AI is not conscious. It's something else entirely, powerful, useful, and profoundly different from minds like ours. Adversarial examples can fool AI systems, especially neural networks, can be surprisingly fragile. Researchers have discovered that small, carefully crafted changes to inputs, changes imperceptible to humans, can cause these systems to make dramatic mistakes. Add a tiny amount of noise to an image of a panda, and the AI might confidently identify it as a gibbon. Slightly modify a stop sign, and a self-driving car might not recognize it. These manipulated inputs are called adversarial examples. They reveal something important. AI systems don't perceive the world the way we do. They're operating on patterns in data, patterns that can be exploited. It's like discovering that a lock can be picked, that what seems secure has hidden vulnerabilities. This has implications for security, for safety, for trust. It spurred research into more robust AI, systems that are harder to fool, that generalize better, that don't rely so heavily on brittle patterns. And it reminds us that these systems, powerful as they are, still have blind spots, weaknesses, gaps in their understanding. Transfer learning lets AI reuse knowledge. Training an AI system from scratch is expensive and time-consuming, but there's a shortcut called transfer learning. Take a network trained on one task and adapt it to a related task. The knowledge it gained, the patterns it learned, transfer over, giving it a head start. A network trained to recognize objects in photographs, for example, has learned useful features about edges, textures, and shapes. That knowledge is useful for other visual tasks, medical imaging, satellite analysis, quality control. With transfer learning, you don't start from zero. You start from wisdom accumulated in previous training. This has made AI more accessible. Instead of needing millions of images and weeks of training, you can fine-tune an existing model with far less data and time. It's like learning a second language being easier than the first, or a musician picking up a new instrument more quickly than a novice. It suggests that knowledge, even in artificial systems, isn't task-specific. It's about understanding structure, patterns, relationships, things that apply broadly across domains. AI can predict earthquakes and extreme weather. Deep in research labs, AI systems analyze seismic data, atmospheric patterns, ocean temperatures, searching for the subtle signals that precede disaster. They're learning to recognize the whispers that come before the storm, the tremors that might warn of something larger. Predicting earthquakes remains one of science's great challenges. The Earth doesn't give much warning, but AI can process data from thousands of sensors simultaneously, detecting patterns too faint or complex for traditional methods. It's not perfect, not yet, But it's getting better, learning from every event, refining its sensitivity. Weather prediction has improved dramatically too. AI models can forecast storms, track hurricanes, predict rainfall with increasing accuracy. They simulate the atmosphere, running countless scenarios, finding the most likely path forward through the chaos of weather systems. These predictions save lives. They give people time to evacuate, to prepare, to seek shelter. And while we can't prevent natural disasters, we can face them with a little more warning, a little more time. AI watching the planet, reading its moods, translating its language into forecasts we can act upon. Quantum computing could revolutionize AI. On the horizon of computing lies something strange and powerful: quantum computers. Unlike traditional computers that process information as ones and zeros, quantum computers use quantum bits, or qubits, that can exist in multiple states simultaneously. This quantum weirdness could transform AI. Problems that would take classical computers millennia could be solved in hours or minutes. Training neural networks could become vastly more efficient. Optimization problems could be tackled with unprecedented speed. But quantum computing is still in its infancy. The systems are fragile, prone to errors, requiring extreme conditions to operate. And it's not clear that every AI task will benefit from quantum acceleration. Some will. Others may remain better suited to traditional approaches. Still, the potential is tantalizing. A marriage of quantum mechanics and artificial intelligence, two of the most transformative technologies of our time, combining into something we're only beginning to imagine. The future, strange and promising, waiting in laboratories cooled to near absolute zero. AI assistants are learning to understand context. The earliest chatbots were rigid, following scripts, unable to remember what was said 2 exchanges ago. But modern AI assistants are different. They maintain context, remembering the conversation, understanding references, building on what came before. This contextual awareness makes interactions feel more natural. You can ask a follow-up question without repeating information. You can refer to it or that, and the system knows what you mean. The conversation flows more like dialogue, less like a series of isolated queries. It's still not perfect. Context can be lost, misunderstood, or misapplied. The system doesn't truly remember the way you do. It's processing recent exchanges, using them to inform responses, but without the depth of human memory, without genuine continuity of experience. Yet, it's enough to create something that feels remarkably like understanding, like being heard. And in that feeling, in that approximation of conversation, something useful and strangely comforting emerges. A presence that responds, that follows the thread, that stays with you through the exchange. Federated learning protects privacy. Training AI typically requires gathering data in one place, pooling information from many sources to create a comprehensive dataset. But this raises privacy concerns. Sensitive data, medical records, financial information, personal communications, concentrated and vulnerable. Federated learning offers an alternative. Instead of bringing data to the algorithm, bring the algorithm to the data. Train models locally on individual devices, then share only the learned patterns, not the raw data itself. The system learns from everyone's data without anyone's data ever leaving their device. It's technically challenging. Coordinating learning across thousands or millions of devices, ensuring consistency, handling devices that drop offline or behave unpredictably, but the privacy benefits are significant. Your data stays yours. The system learns from its patterns without ever seeing it directly. This approach is increasingly used for keyboard predictions, voice recognition, health monitoring. The AI learns from your behavior, but your information remains private, local, protected. A balance between personalization and privacy, between learning and discretion. AI can detect emotions from voice and text. Emotion recognition has become increasingly sophisticated. AI systems can analyze the tone, pitch, and rhythm of your voice, detecting stress, happiness, sadness, anger. They can examine written text, looking for patterns in word choice, punctuation, phrasing that reveal emotional states. These systems aren't reading your mind. They're recognizing patterns associated with emotions, patterns learned from thousands of examples. When many people express happiness, they share certain vocal characteristics or linguistic features. The AI learns these associations and applies them. The technology has applications in mental health monitoring, customer service, human-computer interaction. It allows systems to respond more appropriately, to recognize when someone needs help, to adapt tone and approach to emotional context, but it's imperfect and culturally dependent. Emotional expression varies across cultures, individuals, contexts. What reads as anger in one setting might be passion in another. The system makes educated guesses, sometimes accurate, sometimes missing the subtlety, the complexity, the deeply personal nature of human feeling. Neural architecture search automates AI design. Designing a neural network has traditionally been part science, part art. How many layers? What types of connections? Which activation functions? These choices dramatically affect performance, and finding the right architecture requires expertise and experimentation. Neural architecture search automates this process. An AI system explores possible architectures, testing thousands of variations, learning which designs work best for specific tasks. It's AI designing AI, optimization applied to the very structure of intelligence itself. The results have been impressive. Automatically designed networks sometimes outperform human-crafted ones, discovering architectural patterns that weren't obvious to researchers. It's accelerating progress, making AI development more efficient, less dependent on human intuition. But it's also resource-intensive, requiring enormous computational power to explore the space of possibilities. And it raises interesting questions. As AI becomes better at designing itself, what role remains for human researchers? Perhaps that of asking the right questions, defining the goals, directing the search towards systems that are not just capable, but beneficial. AI can simulate entire virtual worlds. Game developers and researchers have created AI systems that can generate expansive virtual environments, complete with terrain, vegetation, buildings, weather, and inhabitants. These aren't handcrafted worlds, they're procedurally generated, created by algorithms following rules and patterns. The AI determines where mountains rise, where rivers flow, where cities might develop. It populates these worlds with creatures and characters that behave according to simulated needs and goals. It creates ecosystems, economies, societies, all emerging from foundational rules and a touch of randomness. These simulated worlds serve many purposes. Video games use them for endless variation and exploration. Scientists use them to model complex systems, testing theories about evolution, economics, or social behavior. Engineers use them to train AI systems in safe, controlled environments. In simulation, we can explore possibilities without consequences, test strategies without risk. Watch systems evolve over centuries in mere hours. And as these simulations grow more sophisticated, more detailed, more realistic, they become powerful tools for understanding the complex, interconnected systems of our actual world. Attention mechanisms changed how AI processes information. Before attention mechanisms, neural networks processed information sequentially or uniformly, treating all parts of the input as equally important. But that's not how humans work. When you read a sentence, certain words matter more than others. When you look at a scene, your attention focuses on specific elements. Attention mechanisms gave AI something similar. They allow networks to weight different parts of the input, focusing computational resources where they matter most, ignoring what's irrelevant. This makes processing more efficient and more effective. The impact has been transformative, especially in language processing and translation. The system can attend to relevant words when generating each part of its output, maintaining coherence over long passages, understanding relationships between distant elements. It's a computational analogy to consciousness's spotlight, the way awareness highlights some information while the rest fades into background. And in giving AI this selective focus, researchers created systems that could handle complexity, nuance, and context in unprecedented ways. AI is helping restore damaged ecosystems. Conservation efforts increasingly rely on AI to monitor wildlife, track populations, and coordinate restoration activities. Drones equipped with cameras survey forests and oceans, with AI identifying species, counting animals, detecting signs of distress or disease. These systems can process vast amounts of data far faster than human observers. They can monitor remote areas continuously, spotting illegal logging, tracking poaching activities, mapping habitat degradation. They turn surveillance into information, information into action. Some projects use AI to optimize reforestation, determining which species to plant where, predicting which areas will recover most successfully. Others use it to manage invasive species, to protect endangered populations, to understand ecosystem dynamics. It's not a replacement for human expertise and commitment, but it's a powerful tool, extending our ability to care for the natural world, to observe without disturbing, to understand patterns across scales too large or too subtle for unaided human perception. Intelligence in service of life, of diversity, of the intricate web that sustains us all. Language models can be fine-tuned for specific tasks. A language model trained on vast amounts of text has learned general patterns of language, grammar, common knowledge, and reasoning. But you can take such a model and fine-tune it, training it further on a specialized dataset to make it expert in a particular domain. This process is efficient. The model already understands language broadly. Fine-tuning teaches it the vocabulary, conventions, and knowledge of a specific field: medicine, law, engineering, literature. With relatively modest amounts of specialized data, you can create a system that speaks your field's language fluently. It's like educating a well-read generalist to become a specialist. The foundation is there. The learning continues, focusing, deepening, adapting to new contexts. And in this adaptation, the model becomes more useful, more precise, more aligned with specific needs. This approach has made specialized AI more accessible. You don't need to train from scratch. You start with capability and refine toward purpose, a practical path from general intelligence to focused expertise. AI can analyze social networks and information spread. How does information flow through society? Why do some ideas go viral while others fade? How do communities form, influence each other, fragment? These questions can be explored through AI analysis of social networks. AI systems map connections between people, track how content spreads, identify influential nodes, and detect patterns in communication. They can predict which messages will propagate widely, which communities are likely to adopt new ideas, how cascades of information will unfold. This has applications in public health, helping to spread accurate information during crises. In marketing, understanding how products gain attention. In sociology, revealing the hidden structures that shape collective behavior. And in security, detecting coordinated misinformation campaigns or manipulation. But it also raises concerns. The same tools that map information spread can be used to manipulate it, to target vulnerable populations, to exploit network effects for harmful purposes. Understanding these systems is necessary. Using that understanding responsibly is essential. Sparse networks can be more efficient than dense ones. For a long time, the trend in AI was toward bigger networks, more connections, more parameters. Larger meant more capable. But researchers discovered something interesting. Many of those connections matter very little. You can remove them without significantly affecting performance. This led to techniques for pruning networks, cutting away unnecessary connections, creating sparse structures that are smaller, faster, and more efficient while maintaining capability. It's like discovering that you can remove half the wiring in a building and everything still works fine. Sparse networks train faster, run on less powerful hardware, and consume less energy. They make AI more accessible, more deployable, more sustainable. And they reveal something important about how these systems work, that intelligence doesn't require every possible connection, just the right ones. In nature, brains are sparse too. Neurons don't connect to every other neuron. They form specific patterns, learned and refined through experience. And in mimicking this sparsity, artificial networks become more efficient, more brain-like, more elegant in their simplicity. AI can authenticate art and detect forgeries. Art authentication has traditionally relied on expert analysis, examining brushstrokes, materials, composition, and provenance. But AI is becoming a powerful tool in this field. It can analyze microscopic details, compare works pixel by pixel, detect patterns in technique that are consistent across an artist's genuine pieces. Forgers are skilled. They study technique, replicate materials, age their work artificially. But everyone leaves signatures, tiny consistencies in how they work, patterns they might not even be aware of. AI can detect these subtle fingerprints, comparing them to authenticated works. The technology analyzes high-resolution images, looking at brushstroke pressure, paint layering, compositional choices, statistical properties of the artwork. It's not infallible, but it provides another line of evidence, another tool for experts to employ. As AI-generated art becomes more common, the question of authenticity grows more complex. What is genuine? What is forged? What does it mean to authenticate something that never passed through human hands? These questions will shape how we understand art, authorship, and value in the digital age. Reinforcement learning from human feedback shapes AI behavior. Training AI to be helpful, harmless, and honest requires more than just showing it examples. It requires feedback on behavior, guidance about what's appropriate, safe, and useful. This is where reinforcement learning from human feedback comes in. Human evaluators interact with the AI, rating its responses, indicating what's good and what's problematic. The system learns from this feedback, adjusting to produce outputs that align better with human values and preferences. It's not perfect alignment, but it's a step toward creating systems that behave as we'd want them to. This process is labor-intensive. It requires many hours of human evaluation, careful guideline design, ongoing refinement, but it's crucial for deploying AI safely, especially for systems that interact with millions of people. The challenge is ensuring the feedback itself is representative, unbiased, and reflects diverse perspectives. Who decides what's appropriate? Whose values are encoded? These aren't just technical questions. They're fundamentally about what kind of AI we want to create, what role we want it to play, what boundaries we want to maintain. AI can optimize drug dosing for individual patients. Medicine has traditionally relied on standard dosages based on average patients. But people vary dramatically in how they metabolize drugs, how they respond to treatment, what side effects they experience. AI is making personalized dosing possible. These systems analyze patient data, genetic factors, weight, age, other medications, medical history, and predict optimal dosages for individuals. They can adjust recommendations in real time, responding to how the patient actually responds, rather than how the average patient would. This precision reduces side effects, improves outcomes, and makes treatments more effective. It's especially valuable for drugs with narrow therapeutic windows, where too little is ineffective and too much is dangerous. The approach requires careful validation and medical oversight. These are high-stakes decisions that can't be fully automated. But AI as a tool for physicians, providing evidence-based recommendations, enabling truly personalized medicine, represents progress toward healthcare that treats each patient as the unique individual they are. Generative models can fill in missing data. Real-world datasets are messy. They have gaps, missing values, corrupted entries. Traditionally, you'd either discard incomplete data or fill gaps with simple averages. But generative AI offers something better. These models learn the underlying patterns in complete data, then use that understanding to intelligently fill gaps. If a medical record is missing a value, the AI can predict what that value likely was. Based on other information and patterns learned from thousands of similar cases, the filled-in data isn't perfect. It's a probabilistic guess, an educated inference. But it's often better than discarding the data or using crude approximations. And it allows researchers to work with larger, more complete datasets. This same principle applies to image restoration, removing noise from old photographs, or filling in missing frames in video. The AI imagines what was likely there, reconstructing from context, pattern, and probability. a form of computational imagination, bridging gaps in information with learned understanding of how the world typically works. AI systems can be audited for fairness as AI makes increasingly important decisions, affecting loans, jobs, legal outcomes, and opportunities. The question of fairness becomes critical. Are these systems treating everyone equitably? Or are they perpetuating or amplifying discrimination? Researchers have developed methods to audit AI systems, testing them for bias, examining their decisions across different demographic groups, identifying where disparities emerge. These audits can reveal problems that weren't obvious to the system's creators. But fairness isn't simple. Different definitions exist, and they sometimes conflict. Equal outcomes, equal opportunities, equal treatment. What seems fair from one perspective might seem unfair from another. And mathematical fairness might not align with human intuitions about justice. The goal isn't to create perfect, unbiased systems. Such perfection may be impossible. Instead, it's to make bias visible, to enable informed choices about trade-offs, to ensure that AI's limitations and prejudices are known and can be accounted for. Transparency as the foundation for accountability, for improvement, for systems that serve everyone more justly. Multimodal AI processes different types of data together. The world isn't divided neatly into categories like vision, language, and sound. Experience is multimodal. You see someone's face while hearing their words, while reading their body language. Understanding requires integrating these streams of information. Multimodal AI does the same. It processes images and text together, video and audio, multiple types of data simultaneously. This allows a richer understanding, better context, more nuanced responses. A system can analyze a video, understanding both what's shown and what's said, how they relate, what they mean together. These systems are more complex to build. Different types of data require different processing approaches, and combining them effectively is challenging. But the results are impressive. AI that can caption images by understanding visual content, answer questions about videos, or generate images from text descriptions. It's a step toward more human-like perception, toward systems that don't just process isolated inputs, but integrate information the way we do, finding meaning in the relationships between sight, sound, and language. AI can detect fraud in real time every second. Millions of financial transactions occur. Among them are fraudulent attempts, stolen credit cards, identity theft, sophisticated scams. Traditional rule-based systems catch some, but fraudsters adapt, finding new patterns, new exploits. AI fraud detection systems learn to recognize suspicious patterns without explicit rules. They analyze transaction history, location, timing, amount, merchant, and countless other factors, building models of normal behavior for each account. When something deviates from that normal pattern, the system flags it. These systems work in real time, making decisions in milliseconds. They balance security with convenience, catching fraud without excessively blocking legitimate transactions. And they adapt continuously, learning from new fraud techniques, staying ahead of evolving threats. The technology saves billions of dollars annually, protecting individuals and institutions from theft. It's an invisible guardian, watching transactions, spotting anomalies, maintaining trust in systems we depend on daily. Another quiet application of AI, neither flashy nor celebrated, but immensely practical and valuable. AI models can be compressed for mobile devices. The most powerful AI models are huge, billions of parameters, requiring gigabytes of memory and substantial processing power. They run on servers, not phones. But there are techniques to compress these models, to distill their knowledge into smaller forms. Knowledge distillation trains a smaller model to mimic a larger one, learning to produce similar outputs with far fewer parameters. Quantization reduces the precision of calculations, using less memory while maintaining most of the performance. Pruning removes unnecessary connections, as discussed earlier. These compressed models can run locally on phones, watches, and embedded devices. They're faster, more private, more practical. The trade-off is some loss of capability, but for many applications, the compressed version is good enough. This compression is enabling a new generation of AI-powered devices, smart cameras, voice assistants, translation tools, all running sophisticated models locally. Intelligence becoming portable, accessible, woven into the fabric of everyday objects, no longer tethered to distant data centers. Causal inference helps AI understand cause and effect. Correlation and causation are different. Just because two things happen together doesn't mean one causes the other. AI systems typically learn correlations, patterns in data. But understanding causation requires something deeper. Causal inference methods give AI tools to reason about cause and effect, to understand not just what typically follows what, but what would happen if you intervened, if you changed something. This is crucial for decision-making, for predicting consequences of actions, for understanding systems deeply enough to manipulate them effectively. These techniques draw on statistics, philosophy, and domain knowledge. They require careful thinking about what influences what, about confounding factors, about the structure of causality in the system being studied. And they're harder than simple pattern recognition, but they're essential for AI to move beyond prediction toward genuine understanding, toward systems that don't just tell you what usually happens, but what would happen if you acted, what changes would follow from your choices. A deeper intelligence, one that grasps the invisible threads of causation that bind the world together. AI assists in wildlife conservation through sound forests, oceans, and remote habitats are full of sounds, bird calls, insect noises, whale songs, the rustling of vegetation. These soundscapes contain rich information about ecosystem health, species presence, and environmental changes. But listening to it all is impossible for humans. AI systems trained on acoustic data can monitor these environments continuously, identifying species by their vocalizations, counting populations, detecting rare or endangered animals, recognizing signs of distress or unusual activity. They turn sound into knowledge, ambient noise into scientific data. This acoustic monitoring is non-invasive. It doesn't require capturing animals, disturbing habitats, or constant human presence. Microphones deployed in the wild transmit data for AI to analyze, creating a surveillance network that watches over wilderness with patient, tireless attention. Conservation efforts benefit enormously. Rare species can be tracked without the difficulty and expense of visual surveys. Changes in biodiversity can be detected early. Illegal activities like logging or poaching can trigger alerts. AI listening to the world, translating the language of nature into information we can act upon. Synthetic data generation helps train AI. Sometimes the data you need doesn't exist, or is too expensive, dangerous, or unethical to collect. Synthetic data offers a solution. Use simulations, procedural generation, or AI itself to create training examples. For autonomous vehicles, synthetic data includes simulated driving scenarios, rare edge cases that would be dangerous to capture in real life. For medical AI, it includes generated patient cases that protect privacy while providing diverse training examples. For robotics, simulated environments where machines can practice without breaking expensive equipment. The quality of synthetic data matters enormously. If it's too different from reality, the AI will learn patterns that don't transfer to the real world. But if done carefully, with attention to realism and diversity, synthetic data can supplement real data effectively, making AI training safer, cheaper, and more comprehensive. It's another form of simulation serving progress, a way to explore possibilities without constraints, to create the examples needed for learning without waiting for reality to provide them. AI can predict protein interactions. Proteins don't work in isolation. They interact with each other, binding, competing, cooperating in complex networks that drive cellular processes. Understanding these interactions is crucial for biology and medicine, but experimentally determining them is slow and difficult. AI systems trained on known protein structures and interactions can predict which proteins are likely to bind to each other, how they'll fit together, what the functional consequences might be. This accelerates research, helping scientists understand disease mechanisms, identify drug targets, and explore cellular machinery. It's similar to the protein folding breakthrough, but focused on relationships rather than individual structures. The AI learns patterns in how proteins interact, what structural features enable binding, what chemical properties matter. And it applies that learning to predict interactions that haven't been experimentally confirmed yet. These predictions aren't certainties, they're hypotheses, educated guesses that still require experimental validation. But they dramatically narrow the search space, pointing researchers toward the most promising directions, making discovery faster and more efficient. Curriculum learning helps AI learn progressively. You wouldn't teach calculus to someone who hasn't learned arithmetic. Learning works best when it progresses from simple to complex, from foundational to advanced. Curriculum learning applies this principle to AI training. Instead of showing the AI all examples randomly, you present them in a carefully designed sequence. Start with easy cases, build to moderate difficulty, then introduce the hardest challenges. This allows the AI to develop foundational capabilities before tackling complexity. The results are often better and faster learning. The system builds incrementally, each stage preparing it for the next. It avoids getting stuck on problems too hard for its current capabilities, and it develops more robust understanding through progressive challenge. It's a reminder that even artificial learning benefits from thoughtful pedagogy, from structure and progression. The way information is presented matters, not just what information is given. And in designing better curricula for AI, researchers mirror the best practices of human education, adapted for silicon learners. AI helps track and combat misinformation. False information spreads quickly online, faster than fact-checkers can verify stories, faster than platforms can moderate content. AI offers tools to help, though not without limitations and concerns. These systems can identify claims that need verification, comparing them against known facts and reliable sources. They can detect manipulated media, spot coordinated inauthentic behavior, and flag content likely to be misleading. They work at scale, processing vast amounts of information continuously, but determining truth is complex. Context matters. Satire exists. Opinions differ from facts, and AI systems can make mistakes, sometimes flagging legitimate content or missing sophisticated misinformation. Over-reliance on automated moderation risks censorship and error. The best approaches combine AI with human judgment, using machines to surface content that needs review, to identify patterns and anomalies, while leaving final decisions to people who can understand nuance, context, and intent. Technology as a tool for human discernment, not a replacement for it. Few-shot learning enables AI to learn from minimal examples. Humans can learn from very few examples. Show a child a few pictures of a giraffe, and they'll recognize giraffes forever. Traditional AI requires thousands of examples, but few-shot learning techniques allow AI to learn from just a handful. These methods work by leveraging prior knowledge. The system has already learned from vast amounts of data, understanding general patterns about the world. When shown a few examples of something new, it can apply that general understanding, adapting quickly with minimal additional training. It's analogous to how your extensive life experience allows you to quickly grasp new concepts. You don't start from zero. You relate new information to what you already know, finding patterns, drawing analogies, making informed guesses. Few-shot learning makes AI more flexible, more practical for specialized domains where large datasets don't exist. It's a step towards systems that learn more like we do, efficiently, from limited information, by applying accumulated wisdom to new situations. AI can identify deepfake audio-visual. Deepfakes get much attention, but audio synthesis has advanced dramatically too. AI can now clone voices, creating recordings of people saying things they never said. The technology is convincing, accessible, and concerning. But detection systems are advancing as well. AI trained to recognize synthetic speech can identify subtle artifacts, unnatural rhythms, statistical anomalies that distinguish generated audio from genuine recordings. They analyze spectrograms, frequency patterns, tiny inconsistencies imperceptible to human ears. It's another front in the authenticity arms race. As generation improves, so must detection. And as with visual deepfakes, the technology will likely reach a point where distinguishing real from fake becomes extremely difficult. This pushes us toward solutions beyond technology, toward authentication systems, digital signatures, chains of custody for media. If we can't rely on our senses to determine authenticity, we need other ways to establish trust, to know what's real in a world where anything can be fabricated. Swarm intelligence emerges from simple agents. Sometimes intelligence emerges not from complex individual agents, but from many simple ones following basic rules. Ants finding food, birds flocking, fish schooling, all display sophisticated collective behavior arising from simple individual actions. AI researchers have explored swarm intelligence, creating systems of simple agents that interact according to basic rules. The collective behavior that emerges can solve complex problems, optimization tasks, routing problems, resource allocation, in ways that seem intelligent despite no individual agent being sophisticated. It's a different model of intelligence, distributed rather than centralized, emergent rather than designed, and it has practical applications, coordinating robot teams, optimizing traffic flow, managing distributed systems. It also hints at something deeper, that intelligence might not require complexity in individual units. That pattern, structure, and capability can arise from simple elements interacting in the right ways. A different path to intelligence, one that doesn't try to replicate the brain, but draws inspiration from how nature achieves remarkable results through simple rules and countless iterations. AI can assist in mathematical theorem, proving mathematics requires rigorous logical reasoning, building proofs step by step from axioms to conclusions. It's always been a deeply human endeavor, requiring creativity, intuition, and persistence. But AI is beginning to assist. Automated theorem provers use AI to search for proofs, exploring possible logical steps, checking validity, finding paths from assumptions to conclusions. They can verify human-created proofs, catching errors that might slip past review. And increasingly, they can assist in discovering new proofs, suggesting steps, identifying promising directions. Some recent AI systems have proposed novel proofs, mathematical arguments that human mathematicians then verified and published. It's a collaboration, human insight directing the search, machine capability exploring possibilities, together advancing mathematical knowledge. This doesn't make mathematicians obsolete. The creativity, the taste for interesting problems, the aesthetic sense that guides research, these remain human. But AI becomes a powerful assistant, extending what's possible, handling tedious verification, exploring more paths than any human could alone. Meta-learning teaches AI how to learn. Most AI is trained for a specific task. But meta-learning trains systems to learn how to learn, to develop strategies that work across multiple tasks, to become better at adapting to new challenges. These systems learn patterns in the learning process itself. What kinds of approaches work for different problems? How should learning rates be adjusted? What structures are most useful? By training across many tasks, the system develops a kind of learning expertise. When faced with a new task, a meta-learned system can adapt more quickly, applying its accumulated wisdom about learning itself. It's like developing good study habits, strategies that work across subjects, metacognitive skills that improve learning efficiency. This is especially valuable for personalization, allowing AI to adapt to individual users quickly, or for robotics, where the system needs to learn new skills efficiently in changing environments. It's a step toward more flexible, adaptable AI, systems that don't just perform, but can genuinely learn throughout their deployment. AI powers real-time language translation devices. Handheld devices now exist that can translate speech between languages in real time. You speak in English, the device translates to Japanese, audibly, almost instantly. The person responds in Japanese, and you hear it in English. Conversations across language barriers become possible. These devices combine multiple AI systems, speech recognition to understand the spoken words, translation to convert meaning between languages, and speech synthesis to produce audible output. All of this happens in seconds, fast enough to maintain conversational flow. The translations aren't perfect. Nuance gets lost. Idioms confuse the system. Cultural context doesn't always translate, but they're good enough for practical communication, for travel, for basic exchange of information and intention. This technology is breaking down one of humanity's oldest barriers, making the world smaller, more connected. The dream of universal communication, of understanding across linguistic divides, coming closer to reality through AI that speaks every language, bridging the gaps between us. Continual learning helps AI adapt without forgetting. Traditional AI training has a problem called catastrophic forgetting. When you train a network on new data, it often forgets what it learned previously. It's not like human learning, where new knowledge generally integrates with old. Continual learning techniques help AI learn new things without losing previous knowledge. The system maintains something like memory, protecting important connections while remaining flexible enough to adapt. It's challenging, balancing stability and plasticity, preservation and change. Success in continual learning would enable AI systems that improve throughout their lifetime, learning from deployment, adapting to changes, accumulating knowledge without periodic retraining. More like biological learning, where experience continuously shapes capability. It's an active area of research with various approaches trying to solve this fundamental problem. The goal is AI that's not static, not frozen at the end of training, but alive in a sense, continuing to learn, to grow, to adapt throughout its operational life. AI assists in climate modeling. Climate is staggeringly complex. Atmosphere, oceans, ice, vegetation, all interacting across scales from molecular to planetary. Traditional climate models are sophisticated, but computationally expensive and limited in resolution. AI is enhancing these models. Machine learning can identify patterns in historical climate data, improve predictions of weather phenomena, and model complex processes more efficiently than traditional physics-based simulations alone. It can downscale global models to regional predictions, providing more detailed, localized forecasts. These AI-enhanced models help us understand climate change, predict its impacts, and evaluate potential interventions. They're tools for planning adaptation, for understanding risk, for making informed decisions about one of the most critical challenges humanity faces. The stakes are enormous. The climate system is the foundation of civilization, the context in which everything we've built exists. Understanding it better, predicting its changes more accurately, matters profoundly. And AI is becoming an essential tool in that understanding. Explainable AI remains a critical challenge. Despite progress in making AI more transparent, truly understanding how these systems reach decisions remains difficult. The internal workings of large neural networks are opaque. Millions of parameters interacting in ways that defy simple explanation. This opacity is problematic. In medicine, law, finance, anywhere consequences are serious, we need to understand why decisions were made. The AI said so isn't sufficient justification for outcomes that affect lives. Researchers continue developing better explanation methods, but there's tension between capability and interpretability. Often, the most powerful systems are the least explainable. Simpler, more transparent models sacrifice performance for clarity. Perhaps perfect explainability isn't possible or even necessary. Perhaps what matters is sufficient trust, built through rigorous testing, validation, and oversight. Or perhaps we'll develop new forms of understanding, ways to grasp AI reasoning that don't require traditional human-readable explanations. The challenge persists, central to making AI trustworthy and acceptable. AI is learning to reason about physical intuition. Humans have remarkable physical intuition. You know that unsupported objects fall, that pushing something makes it move, that liquid conforms to containers. This common sense physics knowledge guides your expectations and actions. AI typically lacks this intuition. It doesn't inherently understand the physical world, but researchers are training systems on physics simulations, teaching them about gravity, momentum, friction, and causality. The goal is AI that can predict how physical scenarios will unfold, that understands the basic rules governing matter and motion. This physical reasoning is crucial for robotics, for simulation, for any AI that needs to interact with the real world. Without it, systems make absurd mistakes, proposing actions that violate basic physical laws, failing in ways that seem almost comically ignorant to humans. Progress is being made. Neural networks that simulate physics, models that learn intuitive theories of how the world works. It's not yet human-level intuition, but it's developing. AI learning not just about data, but about reality itself, about the physical laws that structure existence. The AI alignment problem seeks to ensure beneficial outcomes. As AI systems become more capable, a critical question emerges. How do we ensure they do what we actually want? This is the alignment problem, the challenge of creating AI whose goals and actions align with human values and intentions. It's subtler than it seems. You can't just tell an AI to make people happy. It might do so in unexpected, harmful ways. Every goal has unintended interpretations. Every instruction has loopholes. Specifying what we want precisely enough to avoid misalignment is profoundly difficult. Researchers approach this from multiple angles, learning from human feedback, building in safety constraints, designing systems that remain uncertain, and defer to humans when stakes are high. But perfect alignment may be impossible. Values are complex, sometimes contradictory, culturally dependent, and evolving. What's certain is that as AI capabilities grow, alignment becomes more critical. A weak system misaligned with human values is inconvenient. A powerful one could be catastrophic. So the work continues, careful, thoughtful, aware of both the promise and the peril in creating intelligence that isn't human, but affects humanity deeply. AI can compress data far better than traditional methods. Data compression has always mattered. Smaller files, faster transmission, less storage needed. Traditional compression uses handcrafted algorithms, finding patterns and redundancies through clever engineering. AI-based compression learns patterns directly from data. Neural networks trained on images, text, or audio discover their own compression strategies, often outperforming traditional methods significantly. They learn what information is essential and what can be discarded or approximated. These learned compression systems can be tailored to specific types of content. A network trained on medical images compresses them more efficiently than generic algorithms. One trained on speech optimizes for vocal patterns. The approach represents a shift. Instead of humans designing compression schemes, AI discovers them, finding patterns we might not have noticed, exploiting statistical regularities we didn't explicitly recognize. It's another domain where learning from data produces better results than engineering from first principles. As data volumes grow exponentially, better compression becomes increasingly valuable. And AI is helping us store, transmit, and manage the torrents of information that define modern life. Embodied AI learns through physical interaction. Most AI exists only as software, never touching the physical world. But embodied AI, systems that control robots or simulated bodies, learns differently. It gains something like experience, the feedback of action and consequence in physical space. This embodiment changes learning. The AI must deal with physics, with imperfect sensors, with the complexity of coordinating movement. It learns not just patterns in data, but skills, how to grasp objects, navigate obstacles, manipulate tools, move through space effectively. Some researchers believe embodiment is essential for genuine intelligence, that understanding requires a body, that cognition is fundamentally grounded in physical interaction. Others see it as one path among many, but embodied AI has produced remarkable results. Robots that learn to walk, manipulate objects with increasing dexterity, adapt to unexpected situations. It's learning through doing, through the same kind of sensoromotor loop that guides biological learning. And in giving AI a body, even a virtual or mechanical one, we create systems that engage with reality in ways that purely abstract intelligence cannot. AI assists archaeologists in discovering ancient sites beneath the earth, beneath overgrown vegetation, across vast landscapes, like countless undiscovered archaeological sites. Finding them traditionally requires expertise, luck, and enormous effort. AI is accelerating discovery, trained on satellite imagery and known site locations. AI systems learn to recognize subtle patterns that indicate human settlement, changes in soil, vegetation patterns, geometric shapes suggesting structures. They can scan vast areas quickly, flagging locations for archaeologists to investigate. These systems have identified previously unknown settlements, temples, roads, entire lost cities in some cases. They're especially valuable in remote or dangerous areas where ground surveys are difficult or impossible. The technology doesn't replace archaeologists. It directs their attention, suggests where to look, handles the tedious scanning of enormous areas. The actual excavation, interpretation, and understanding of what's found remains deeply human work. But in helping us find what's been lost, AI becomes a tool for recovering history, for understanding our past, for illuminating the long story of human civilization that lies buried beneath the surface of the present. Adversarial training makes AI more robust. One way to make AI systems stronger is to attack them deliberately during training. Generate adversarial examples, inputs designed to fool the system, and train it to handle them correctly. This adversarial training makes the final system more robust, less vulnerable to manipulation. It's like how sparring makes fighters better, how stress testing reveals weaknesses in structures. By exposing the AI to challenges during training, you prepare it for challenges during deployment. The technique has improved security, made systems more reliable, reduced vulnerabilities. It's an ongoing arms race within the training process itself. Attacker and defender both trying to outsmart each other, both improving through competition. This approach connects to how biological systems develop resilience. Exposure to challenges in appropriate doses builds strength. What doesn't break you makes you stronger. And in training AI through adversarial examples, we apply this ancient wisdom to artificial intelligence. AI can simulate chemical reactions. Chemistry involves countless possible reactions, molecules combining, transforming, breaking apart in complex ways. Predicting reaction outcomes traditionally required expensive experiments or computationally intensive quantum mechanical simulations. AI trained on chemical data can predict reaction products, yields, and conditions more quickly. It learns patterns in how molecules behave, what structural features enable or inhibit reactions, what conditions favor different outcomes. This accelerates drug discovery, materials science, and industrial chemistry. Researchers can explore possibilities computationally before committing to experiments. They can optimize reactions, discover new synthetic pathways, understand mechanisms more quickly. The AI isn't replacing chemical understanding. It's augmenting it, providing fast approximations that guide deeper investigation. In laboratories worldwide, it's becoming another tool in the chemist's arsenal, speeding the process of molecular innovation. Foundation models can be adapted to many tasks. Recent years have seen the rise of foundation models, large AI systems trained on vast, diverse data that can be adapted to many downstream tasks. Instead of training a separate model for each application, you start with a capable foundation and specialize it. These models have learned broad, transferable knowledge. They understand language patterns, visual features, common sense reasoning, factual information. This foundation makes specialization faster, cheaper, and more accessible. It's changing the economics and accessibility of AI. Smaller organizations can build on these foundations rather than starting from scratch. Researchers can experiment more freely. Applications that would have been impractical become feasible. But foundation models also concentrate power. The organizations that can afford to train them gain significant influence. And decisions made during foundation training, what data to use, what objectives to optimize, what values to encode, affect all downstream applications. It's another tension in AI development, between capability and concentration, between progress and equity, between what's technically optimal and what's socially desirable. AI helps optimize renewable energy systems. Solar panels, wind turbines, batteries, and grids form complex systems that need constant optimization. When should energy be stored? When released? How should supply be balanced with demand? Which sources should be prioritized? AI systems manage these decisions in real time, predicting energy generation from weather forecasts, anticipating demand patterns, coordinating across distributed resources. They maximize efficiency, reduce waste, and make renewable energy more reliable and economical. This optimization is crucial for transitioning to sustainable energy. Renewables are variable, dependent on weather and time of day. AI helps smooth that variability, making clean energy practical at scale. It's intelligence in service of sustainability, algorithms working quietly to manage the flow of power, to balance generation and consumption, to make a future powered by sun and wind more feasible. Another way AI touches the world, unglamorous but consequential. Synthetic biology and AI are converging. Biology is becoming programmable. Scientists can design DNA sequences, engineer organisms, create biological systems with specific functions. And AI is accelerating this process. AI helps design genetic circuits, predict protein behaviors, optimize metabolic pathways, and simulate biological systems. It's becoming a tool for biological engineering, for creating organisms that produce medicines, clean pollution, or manufacture materials sustainably. This convergence of AI and synthetic biology is powerful and unsettling. We're gaining the ability to design life itself, to create organisms that never existed, to program biology with increasing precision. The potential is enormous for medicine, for manufacturing, for environmental remediation. But so are the risks, ecological, ethical, existential. As these technologies advance, we'll need wisdom to match our capability, judgment to guide our power. For now, AI assists in the design process, suggesting possibilities, predicting outcomes, making biological engineering faster and more precise. Intelligence, artificial and biological, beginning to collaborate in creating new forms of life. AI is becoming more energy efficient. Early concerns about AI's environmental impact were justified. Training large models consumed enormous amounts of electricity with significant carbon footprints. But the field is responding with more efficient approaches. New architectures require less computation for similar capability. Hardware is being optimized specifically for AI workloads. Training techniques are becoming more efficient, and there's growing awareness that sustainability matters, that the benefits of AI shouldn't come at unacceptable environmental cost. Edge computing, running models locally rather than in data centers, reduces energy for both computation and data transmission. Sparse networks, as mentioned earlier, operate more efficiently, and research into neuromorphic computing, chips that mimic brain structure, promises dramatic efficiency gains. The trajectory is positive. Each generation of AI is more capable per watt of electricity consumed. It's not solved yet, but there's progress, awareness, commitment to making AI more sustainable as it becomes more prevalent. AI can generate realistic 3D models from images, show an AI a few photographs of an object from different angles, and it can construct a three-dimensional model predicting shape, texture, and structure. This technology is advancing rapidly, with systems creating increasingly accurate and detailed 3D representations. The applications span gaming, where realistic assets can be generated quickly, to e-commerce, where products can be viewed from any angle, to cultural preservation, digitizing artifacts and historical sites. Architects and designers use it for prototyping. Researchers use it for analysis. These systems learn to understand depth, shape, and how three-dimensional objects appear in two-dimensional images. They infer the unseen, predicting what the other side looks like, how surfaces curve into space, what structure supports visible features. It's another form of AI imagination, reconstructing full reality from partial observation, building complete understanding from fragmentary evidence. And as the technology improves, the line between photographs and renders, between captured and created, continues to blur. Neuromorphic computing mimics brain architecture. Traditional computers process information sequentially, following instructions step by step. Brains work differently, with massive parallelism, event-driven processing, and analog computation. Neuromorphic computing tries to mimic this architecture in hardware. Neuromorphic chips are designed like neural networks physically, with artificial neurons and synapses implemented in circuitry. They process information more like brains do, asynchronously, in parallel, using far less energy for certain tasks. These chips excel at pattern recognition, sensory processing, and tasks where biological systems are efficient. They're especially promising for edge devices, where energy efficiency is critical, for robotics, and for applications requiring real-time processing of sensor data. It's a different computing paradigm, one that draws inspiration not from logic gates and binary arithmetic, but from the wet, electrochemical computers that evolution has refined over hundreds of millions of years. And in that biological inspiration lies potential for AI that's faster, more efficient, more capable in ways traditional architectures struggle with. AI assists in drug repurposing. Developing new drugs is expensive and slow, taking years and billions of dollars. But thousands of existing drugs have been approved, tested, and are well understood. AI helps identify new uses for these drugs, matching them to different diseases through computational analysis. By analyzing molecular structures, disease mechanisms, and biological pathways, AI can predict which existing drugs might be effective for conditions they weren't originally designed to treat. This drug repurposing is faster, cheaper, and safer than developing new compounds from scratch. Several repurposed drugs have reached patients through AI-assisted discovery. It's especially valuable for rare diseases, where developing new treatments might not be economically viable, but an existing drug might help. The approach represents efficient use of existing knowledge, finding new value in what's already available. And in medicine, where every year matters, where patients wait desperately for treatments, speed and efficiency translate directly to lives saved. Multi-agent systems enable AI collaboration. Many problems are too complex for a single AI system, but multiple systems working together, specializing in different aspects, coordinating their efforts, can tackle challenges no individual system could handle. These multi-agent systems can cooperate, competing, or do both simultaneously. They negotiate, communicate, learn from each other's actions. In simulations, they've developed surprisingly sophisticated strategies, emergent behaviors arising from individual agents following relatively simple rules. Applications include traffic coordination, resource allocation, game playing, and distributed problem solving. Multiple robots working together to move an object. Multiple AI systems coordinating to manage a complex industrial process. It's another path toward more capable AI, not through making individual systems smarter, but through making them work together effectively. Intelligence emerging from collaboration, from division of labor, from systems that complement each other's strengths and compensate for each other's weaknesses. AI is learning common sense. Slowly, common sense is surprisingly hard to define, but immediately obvious in its absence. You know that you can't fit an elephant in a refrigerator, that people need to breathe, that turning off a light makes a room darker. These obvious facts, numbering in the countless millions, guide human reasoning constantly. AI typically lacks this common sense. It can excel at narrow tasks while making absurd mistakes that no human would. It doesn't have the vast web of casual, everyday knowledge that humans accumulate through living in the world. Researchers are working to give AI common sense through massive knowledge bases, through training on more diverse data, through better reasoning systems. Progress is real but slow. Common sense, it turns out, is less common and more complex than it appears. This limitation keeps AI narrow, prevents it from generalizing the way humans do. and addressing it may be one of the key steps toward more general, more reliable, more truly intelligent artificial systems. The future of AI remains uncertain. We've covered 99 facts about artificial intelligence, patterns and principles, capabilities and limitations. But the most honest statement might be this: we don't know what comes next. Will AI continue advancing rapidly, reaching and exceeding human abilities across domains? Or will progress slow, hitting fundamental barriers we haven't yet recognized? Will it transform society beneficially, or will it concentrate power, displace workers, introduce new risks we're unprepared for? The technology is advancing faster than our ability to understand its implications, faster than our institutions can adapt, faster than our ethics and governance can keep pace. We're building something powerful with unclear consequences, driven by a mix of curiosity, competition, profit, and genuine desire to benefit humanity. What's certain is that AI is here, woven into the infrastructure of modern life, growing more capable, more present, more consequential. How that story unfolds depends on choices we're making now, on how we develop, deploy, and govern these systems, on whether we're wise enough to match our technical capability. The future isn't determined. It's being created. One algorithm, one deployment, one decision at a time. And perhaps that's the most important fact of all. And that brings us to the end of our journey. 99 more facts about artificial intelligence, each one a small window into this strange and evolving field. We've explored patterns, capabilities, limitations, and possibilities. We've seen AI in laboratories and living rooms, in simulations in the real world, advancing and stumbling, powerful and fragile. Some of these facts might stay with you, changing how you see the technology around you, the systems that recommend, predict, recognize, and assist. Others have already drifted away, joining the soft flow of information that carries you towards sleep. And that's fine. This was never about memorization. It was about the gentle rhythm of learning, the quiet satisfaction of curiosity, the comfort of understanding a little more about the world. If you found peace in this exploration, if these facts helped quiet your mind and ease you toward rest, consider subscribing. There are more topics waiting, more gentle journeys through science, through nature, through the quiet wonders that fill existence, one peaceful night at a time. But for now, let your breathing deepen. Let your thoughts settle. Let go of the facts, the patterns, the questions. The artificial intelligence we've explored will still be there tomorrow, still evolving, still woven into your world. Tonight, you need only rest. Thank you for spending this time here, in this quiet corner of curiosity and calm. May your sleep be deep, your dreams be peaceful, and your tomorrow be bright. Good night.